What a team.
Okay, who's our next guy?
Okay, so the last category is guys that we're both above the market on. And I want to combine this into two because I think that it's funny.
I don't think that we should do that because then everyone's going to know that we are frauds.
You know what it's like? Okay, I picked the last guy, so you pick this guy.
No, I'm kidding. We should talk about both because we're absolute frauds, and the masses need to know.
Okay,
we're just flip flopping. Like we're just going with the wind, flailing about like a paper bag, or how's that? Is it a Katy Perry song? A plastic bag floating through that. That is us when it comes to running back analysis.
Feel like a plastic bag.
Yeah. We probably didn't need to sing it, but it was fun.
We didn't sing it. Okay, so look, if you want the high-priced buys, there's only one of them that we both agree on that's high-priced. But if you want those, you got to go to Patreon. But if you want the bargain bin buys, we're going to give them to you.
Just slamming the door and slamming the paywall in people's face. I love it.
So this cracked me up because I had not yet looked through Drew's tiers when I did mine because I wanted to go through it entirely unbiased. And then I looked afterwards and I kind of chuckled to myself because I only had 2 actual buys. I had several process buys of the cheap running backs, but I only had 2 BUI buys amongst the running backs that I had valued at a 3rd round pick or less. Or maybe it was like a late 2 or less, something like that. And both of them were very ironic because they're both players that I've been pretty vocally against for most of their careers. And then I looked at Drew's ranks and I saw that he had the exact same 2 guys as buys. And I thought that was truly hilarious because Drew has also not been a big fan of these players for most of their careers. And those 2 players are Damion Harris and Rashaad Penny. We are all in on Damion Harris and Rashaad Penny. Why don't you lead this one off?
Well, I think what we were talking about this before the show, and I was like, I think the interesting thing about this kind of thing is, like, I pick like a value and I assign this value to like Rashaad Penny. I'm like, he's a good football player. He's never healthy, and he's probably never going to catch passes. But he's a good football player. Like he's hitting home runs. He's stealing second base. Like he's a good football player, and I just stay there. And then the market goes like, oh, he's a good football player and he's healthy, vroom, like to the roof. And then it's like, oh, and now he's hurt, vroom, he's free. And I'm just like staying in the same spot. I'm like, he's still a good football player. He gets hurt. He's a fucking running back. Of course he gets hurt. Like I'm not concerned about him getting hurt because they all get hurt. He gets hurt a little more than most, but at the end of the day, like I think he's been consistently good at running the football pretty much his entire life. And when he's healthy, he's probably going to be good at running the football again. And with a guy like Rashaad Penny, what I'm looking for is I hope he's healthy for weeks 15, 16, 17. or I guess 18 now because the extra week. But like I'm just hoping that he's healthy in those 4 weeks, and I'm going to fire him up. And when he's free, I don't care that he doesn't have a ton of upside. I don't care he doesn't catch passes. Last year when he wasn't free, I cared that he didn't catch passes. Like, well, wait, hold on. I don't want to pay up for a guy that is only ever going to be like, if he hits his ceiling, RB12, like that's not what I'm interested in at that price. Now I'm like, he's free and he could be an RB12 if he's healthy. Yeah, sign me up. Let's go. And the Damion Harris side of it is pretty much the same thing. Like I think Damion Harris is a pretty good running back at running the football. He's probably never going to catch a whole lot of passes. And now he's free. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't we buy Damion Harris and hope that he gets lucky for the stretch of the fantasy playoffs and I get to win my league because of him.
Right. The great irony of these guys is like they always had these inflated prices based on just the known possession of not very good roles, right? Like neither of these guys ever had like the type of role. It's one thing when you have like a Leonard
They're not Javonte Williams.
Right. Know? Yeah. It's okay. I always pick on Leonard Fournette because he's bad.
It doesn't matter.
Comes to mind. But the thing is like Leonard Fournette was always the type of player where it was like, it was like, especially with the Bucs, right? Like these last couple of years with the Bucs, it's been like, okay, Leonard Fournette is obviously not very good. So like his like value is very like fragilely tied to this role that he currently possesses. But for as long as he's in it, let's ride, right? But these guys aren't that. Like they don't really receive any boost from their situation. They've never had like incredible roles. Like whatever they have gotten as fantasy value has just been entirely out of their own skill level at being good at a really inefficient way of scoring fantasy points, which is rushing the football, right? Like Penny's better because he's more explosive. Harris is more of like a 10 yards at a time guy, but both of them are really good running backs. Like you give them they add value on their carries. And teams are going to continue to value that, especially because they will provide it very cheaply in free agency because they only have that one skill set. Like you're going to be able to sign these guys for not that much. We just mentioned the Bills, right? The Bills can easily look at their team and be like, well, we already have James Cook and he's going to play a situational role and he's going to do some passing back. And, oh, we'll just sign this other guy for $4 million and we're going to have really strong rushing ability, right? Some team's going to do that. I don't know which one. I have no idea which one. But some team is going to do that. These guys are going to get carries because they're good. They're going to get carries on an NFL team. And so they're priced as though they're like maybe they'll be a backup. Maybe they'll be out of the league. We don't know. They're not going to be out of the league.
The price, I hope they're still in the NFL next year.
Right. And they're going to be in the NFL. Like the worst case scenario in these guys is they're going to be like a clear cut number 2. And then you get a handcuff, which whatever. But I'm pretty sure that these guys are probably going to be in a role where they're going to get 10 to 15 carries and 1 or 2 targets. And, you're going to have them on your roster and they're going to not make that much of a difference for you, but you're going to be able to start them at RB2 if you need to. You're going to be able to play them in your bye weeks and maybe they get hot over a stretch in the playoffs like you mentioned, right? And again, you get to buy them at the price of maybe they're an NFL player, but we already know they're an NFL player. And I just think it's silly this time how much we project onto certain roles. Like for example, Jamal Williams, who's also a free agent, is valued considerably above both these players. And he is considerably worse than both of these players. He is not efficient. He's not good. He just happened to score a lot of touchdowns this past year, whereas these guys happen to get injured. But that doesn't mean anything going forward. They're all the same idea of running back. They're all early down running back free agents who are going to get some type of role somewhere. And these guys are frankly better at football. I would rather have both of them straight up than Jamal Williams. That's kind of how we should view, I think, a lot of these guys. Who are these players? And in particular, when they're free agents, why the fuck do we give a shit about what their role was last year or how healthy they stayed?
Well, I honestly, I never really thought about it before, but you said the Bills, and I was like, oh, man, Rashaad Penny on the Bills feels like destiny at this point to me because he's that big home run hitter. I just feel like that whole team is built to hit home runs. Josh Allen is a home run hitter. Gabriel fucking Davis is a home run hitter. James Cook is a home run hitter. Rashaad Penny is a home run hitter. What do they call that stretch of the Yankees lineup in the 50s? It was Murderer's Row or something.
Yeah. That's
every guy hit home runs. I feel like that's the fucking Bills. And now I'm if they don't sign Rashaad Penny, I'm going to be pissed. This is a perfect with what they try to do.
Right. I mean, another team that I think would make a ton of sense is the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, they could easily look at it and they're like, okay, what's the job of a running back on the Philadelphia Eagles? Basically to run straight through a big hole and get a bunch of extra yardage. And they're like, Miles Sanders is pretty good at that. He's probably going to cost them $8 million, but they could just sign Rashaad Penny for $3 million and he'll do the exact same thing.
They could probably sign Rashaad Penny and Damion Harris, and hopefully one of them is healthy.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the funny thing. Penny is to the extent injury prone is a thing, Penny is it. But Harris was always entirely healthy until this year, right? He just happened to get injured this year.
He happened to get injured this year, and then what's his name? The other dude in the offense. What's
Ramondre
that?
Stevenson.
Yeah, Ramondre happened to be take over the whole role, and then it made Damion Harris look bad. But if you look at I think in the end of the season when Damion Harris was healthy,
Damion Harris actually played more snaps.
Yeah, Damion Harris took back his role from Ramondre Stevenson. Not
Ramondre also got hurt in that stretch. So
did he? Yeah, it's one of those things where we don't really look at splits, but it's also well, that's interesting. But if Ramondre got hurt, then that makes more sense.
He was still playing, but he got hurt. Remember on the Monday night game, and then he ended up playing through it. But I don't know that he was 100%. So who knows? But
yeah. Anyways, the fact that he got back to his role, I think, is a testament that he's probably pretty good at football.
But, even you look at it, the games that Harris missed, Ramondre played 99% of the snaps. He just literally played every snap. And then every time that Harris came back healthy, what his role was fluctuated, but he had a role, right? And so that showed the Patriots were whatever we think of you much higher than we think of Pierre Strong, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I just don't. I can't see a world in which these guys don't have day one roles. They might not be day one bell cows, but they're going to be day one roles. They're going to be, the thunder part of the committee or whatever. And if they, strike gold in the touchdown streak, we can cash out. And if they don't, then we'll hope that they do in the playoffs. And maybe they'll be healthy the whole year. Who knows? They're fucking running backs. Like, all they got to do is stay healthy, and then they score enough points to get into the starting lineup 9 times out of 10, because the other half of the league is all dead. So, like, just if a guy can play football and he plays running back, get him on your team when he's free, and just wait. That's it. It's that simple.
Exactly. All right.
And then wait, there's more, because then what happens sometimes is these guys score like 15 touchdowns in 16 games, and then the masses rush out to best case scenario that now he's also going to catch passes, and the sky is the limit. And that's when we're like, whoa, let's back up a second. That is insane. This guy has never caught passes. You were projected. What was I telling you you're doing with
wishing upon a star?
You were wishing upon a star with Damion Harris last year and Rashaad Penny last year. We can wish upon a star at these prices. It's okay again. We're back to square one. Like, let's go on these guys. I don't know. It's just, I just find it really not alarming is maybe not the right word, but like surprising how fickle fantasy gamers are at a position when we know they get hurt. Like, that's why running backs don't matter. And we know that they don't matter because a guy gets hurt, the next guy walks in and does the same damn thing. So why are we so upset when they get hurt? Like, they're coming back. I don't know. I'm all riled up. I don't want to talk about running backs anymore.